Short rows are worked in knitting to create vertical length to account for things in your sweater like bust shaping or the slope of your shoulder. As you can see from this first part of the sweater, this is the back, and the first front, the right front, the short rows have been used to create a shape here. It's almost like a triangle, right? That mirrors the shape of a shoulder, right? This is worked the same on the front. So when the sweater is on the body, you have a really nice slope here that mirrors the slope of your shoulder. To work a wrap and turn short row on the front side of the work, that is the knit side, I'm going to begin with my yarn in the back. I'm going to take the tip of my right hand needle and slip it in purlwise through the first stitch on the left hand needle. Slip that stitch off the needle. I'm going to take the working yarn and bring it to the front of the work between the tips of both needles. Then I'm going to slip this stitch on the right hand needle back to the left hand needle the same way that I slipped it previously. And then I'm going to take the working yarn and put it behind the work between the tips of the needles. So as you can see, this stitch has been wrapped with the yarn around the stitch on the needle here. Now I'm going to turn the work around. Since I'm working stockinette and I'm now on the wrong side of the work, I'm going to be purling. And since I brought the yarn to the back of the work from the other side before, it's now on the front, ready for me to begin purling. So I'm going to go ahead and purl. To work a wrap and turn on the wrong side of the work, that's the purl side of the work, you're going to begin with the yarn in front, that is on the wrong side of the work, which is where it has been because we've been working purls. So I'm going to take the tip of the right hand needle and insert it purlwise into the first stitch on the left hand needle, slip that stitch off, and then I'm going to take the working yarn and put it behind the piece between the tips of the needles. So now the yarn is in the back. Then I'm going to slip the stitch on the right hand needle back to the left hand needle the same way that I slipped it before. Now I'm going to take my working yarn and bring it back to the front of the work between the tips of the needles like that. So if you look closely, you can see that this stitch that's on the left hand needle here has been wrapped. So I'm going to turn the work around, which means that I'm now on the right side of the work, or the knit side, and the yarn is already in the back because I brought it back as the last step for wrapping the stitch. And so now I'm ready to work my knit stitches. A wrapped stitch should be pretty visible from the front of the work. You can see the wrap here. It really sticks out against the knit fabric. To resolve this stitch, I'm going to take the tip of my right hand needle and stick it in knitwise through the front of the wrap, and then knitwise through the stitch. I'm going to pull the yarn through both of them together and slip them off the left hand needle. You can tell that you've done it correctly when this stitch no longer appears wrapped and looks just like all the other stitches. And then proceed to keep knitting. If needed, if you see any sort of like holes or gaping here, you can always go in with the tip of your needle or a darning needle after you finish knitting and readjust the stitches by pulling on the individual legs. Wrapped stitches are a little bit tricky to see on the wrong side or purl side of stockinette fabric. If you're having trouble seeing them, I recommend marking them with a removable stitch marker so that you can see them when you go back to resolve the stitch. This stitch here is a wrapped stitch that I'm going to be resolving. You can see it better on the front of the fabric there. But I'm working the purl side right now, so I'm going to be resolving it from the purl side. To resolve a wrapped stitch from the purl side of the work, you're going to take the tip of your right hand needle and stick it in purlwise through the back of this wrap here. If you see the wrap, here it is on the front like this, right? And here it is through the back. So you're going to take the tip of your right hand needle, stick it in through the back of that wrap, and then purlwise through the stitch on the needle. So your right hand needle should be through both the wrap and the stitch on the needle purlwise. Going to pull my yarn through both. If needed, you can use the tip of your left hand needle to pull that wrap up over the yarn like this. And there it is. From the front of the work, if you want to check to make sure that you've done this correctly, from the front of the work, your stitch should look like a normal stitch. And then continue.